I grew up in a family that was somewhat Catholic, I would say, and went to church occasionally. And this is just to give a little flavor of where I first heard of God or had somebody show me who God was in a positive or negative light. And it actually really wasn't a more negative light, and this is nothing against any church or anything. I happen to be 8 years old at this point, and I could only see myself getting to church whenever a parent can get me to church or whenever my mom went. But if you're Catholic, you know the whole thing they do with confession, and I recall being in one of those confession booths, and you're supposed to explain to God or to the person on the other side, you're supposed to explain to them what your life has been like for the last 6 months. So I say, forgive me, Father, for this or that. One of the things I said is, forgive me, Father, I haven't been to church in 3 months. And he stopped me right there, this priest, and said, what? You haven't been to church in 3 months? Do you want to rot in? And I was like, wow. Yeah, I'm, as an 8-year-old, that was hard for me to swallow without any context of here's this adult telling me, since I can't get to church on my own, I deserve to go to hell. So, needless to say, at least for a little while, that put kind of a bad taste in my mouth about religion, God, and those things. But I always believed in God. I never had no doubt that there was a God. And it wasn't until later in my life that I would come to get to know God better. Most of my thought on God was, I'm not as bad as this person. I'm not a murderer. I don't steal from people. I'm a good person. So why wouldn't God let me into heaven? And I'm sure there's a lot of people in our world that has that same thought of, I'm this good. I'm better than these people. I don't do X, Y, and Z. So why would God not allow me to go to heaven? So fast forwarding to my 20s, and I spent a lot of my 20s just enjoying friends and enjoying the nightlife, enjoying going downtown, whatever 20-year-olds sometimes do, getting into trouble or whatever. And then my dad got cancer, and slowly I watched him kind of perish away. Now, I had mixed feelings on my dad, and he wasn't always there for us. But I did care for him strongly, but it was frustrating time. And I remember that being one of the darkest times of my life was as my father was passing away. And when he finally did pass away, as we were going to the hospital and visit him, my sister had already started going to the Church of Christ at Wetzel Road at that point. And her and the guy that she would eventually marry would bring, some of you guys know Bill Perkins, to the church and pray to the hospital. And he would pray with my dad and talk to my dad and try to get my dad to know who God was. But I think my dad felt that he was too far gone at that point to really get to know who God was. But it amazed me seeing people I did not know be committed to taking their time out of their day, driving to a hospital, praying with my dad. And that really left an impression on me, is here are these strangers that I don't know, but they're here. They're here for my mom in a time when she desperately needs comfort. So after my dad passed away, I saw my mom kind of start going to church more, and I saw her character change as well. She seemed, even in this hard time, even after losing her husband, she seemed like there was still some joy in her life. She looked forward to going to church. I was living with her at that time, and Mr. Perkins and David Owens would come over and study the Word with her, study the Bible with her, and that impressed me too. But it was more than, I was like, oh, even after my dad has passed away, these people are still here. And that really was powerful, was seeing those people continue to be there, continue to study the Word. So initially, I thought maybe I can have the best of both worlds kind of thing. I went to go to church when I could make it, and I would still, have fun on the weekends. So I thought you could have best of both worlds. But as I got to hear the word more and see it expressed in people's lives, and occasionally have dinner with Bill Perkins or other people, it really just seemed like I was definitely missing something. I was definitely now all of a sudden searching for something. Because I think this is with most people who haven't seen Christ, they don't know God yet. There seems to be a hole that you're stuffing with everything. I was stuffing it with like work. I like to be occupied. There was a point in my life back in my 20s where I was working anywhere from 60 to 95 hours a week. So whether it was work or going out, everything was trying to stuff the void, and I realized maybe this is something that I need for this void. So it really didn't take long before I realized I need to give up this stuff in order to have God in my life. I need to get right. I was compelled by the actions of other people and the message that people had of the gospel. And I think it was one August where I decided, I remember cleaning my room, and I just got a big trash bag and threw a ton of things out and just said, this isn't my life anymore. And that following week on a Saturday evening, I remember being baptized. And I remember that just being one of the greatest feelings of my life was coming out from that water.